What's going on, guys? Welcome on back to the Second and Short podcast. Here is the Cheap Seats, our Fantasy Dynasty rendition. And we're going to pretty much go over every NFL team and players that we think that you should keep, buy, or trade away. Sell, essentially. But before we do that, let's go ahead and intro ourselves on in. My name is Tyler, your host, joined with our Fantasy Dynasty expert, Jason. Jason, how did your fantasy season end? Any championships come your way?
I did win one. I won one championship out of six playoffs. Yeah, I was in about six playoffs that were relevant money-wise. Came away with one title. The rest of them kind of flamed out due to lackluster play or going up against a juggernaut like Jamar Chase and having him stacked with Burrow. So, yeah, I mean, I came out with one championship, so I consider the season a win. It was a pretty sizable purse that I won.
Yeah, and you're still waiting on that purse because if you're, for some reason, hidden under a rock and you don't know, PayPal and anybody else like that manner is kind of blocking any fees getting transferred right now, which this is a nice time to, we're not sponsored, but we should be, switch your fucking leagues over to League Safe. Because it's a safe way to pay for fantasy dues, and it's a safe way to get your money back on time. There's nothing worse than waiting for money. And if PayPal is going to be stubborn like this, you might as well just move on. If you're not happy with your situation, move on to something better. And League Safe is better. Again, not sponsored, should be. Now, myself, I won two leagues. We already discussed one that I came away with a championship. That UK versus US one. Really cool $50 donation got to go to my choice of charity from the league winnings, which is what the champion gets to do every year. Pretty cool. And then obviously I won our league that we share together. When I say obviously, because obviously I was winning it from like week one. It was pretty clear by the points scored, and I wasn't even sweating. And here's the thing. I truly believe, like, there are seasons when, like, you look at it and you're like, man, there's like 3 or 4 good teams, blah, blah. I was the only real good team in that league. When I say that, I mean, I was, and I know it's a humble brag, but I was in a tier above everybody else. And I feel like I deserved the win. And I feel like, because I've seen guys in the situation, I've been in leagues where I'm like the 6th seed, and I knock out that 1 seed that scored like 400 more points than everybody. And I'm like, oh, man, that sucks. Like, he was better than me for 13 weeks. And I was better than him for 1. Like, that's not, you know what I mean? So I like to see when people that are the juggernauts win.
I feel like that's a kind of a backhanded comment toward me because I did beat you in the regular season. So I mean, I just want to keep reminding you that
you did it.
I do hold a victory over the league champ.
Yep.
And Adam will attest that you should not humble brag.
No, I'm bragging. I don't even care what's the worst that's gonna happen. I lose next year. I'm playing for free. I just won all the money, so I'm good to go. But we're gonna talk later on about trades we're gonna do. And this intro's a little long. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Now, our randomly selected division today is the NFC West, and we're gonna discuss pretty much each position or each team. Like I said in the beginning, players that you should buy, a player that you should sell, and a player that you got to keep. It doesn't matter what everybody's telling you, keep this player. Special reminder, this is a dynasty-specific episode. We are done with redraft for quite some time. We'll come back to it when it's more popular and people are more alive for fantasy football, and they're not saddened by their losses. So, let's start with the buy category. And we'll kind of mix this up, I guess, as we go. But the first thing to buy, it's on me. I get this. And entering free agency this year, so technically he's not really going to be a Cardinal, but it's still in the playoffs, so he is. Go out and buy Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk is a great candidate to purchase and put on your team. He ended up finishing this year as the wide receiver 26 in PPR formats. He had a fantastic year filling in when Hopkins was out or when Rondelle Moore wasn't producing. AJ Green was kind of down in the dumps. We saw outside of last week, weeks 14, 15, 16, 17, he had 6+ targets in every single one of those games. He came away with over 6+ targets, I believe, in out of the 17 weeks in like 12 of his 17 matchups or 11. And he just put forward a pretty good season. We didn't see a lot of touchdowns out of him, but that's not really what we need from him. He's just a guy that's going to get you a good amount of targets, a good amount of catches when he gets that opportunity in that role. Going into free agency, he's going to be a little one of those guys that you're going to be sleeping on a little bit. You're going to remember, oh no, he only did that because those guys were gone. Well, guess what? Next year on a new team, those guys are also going to be gone, and he will have a number 1 or number 2 receiver role in front of him.
I think that's a very interesting pick. He wasn't even on my radar, honestly, but it's a good call out. I like Kirk. I think he does produce when given the opportunity. He's got a great set of hands. He's got a great skill set, and I think he could go to a team and be a wide receiver 1, low end wide receiver 1 at worst, and that wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Yeah, it's a good call out. Kirk never even crossed my mind in this scenario.
I mean, like, just imagine he goes to a place where we know they're going to throw the ball a lot. Let's just say he decides to sign a deal with like the Las Vegas Raiders and can step in and slot in on the opposite side or next to kind of Hunter Renfrow. And he can kind of be that more deep ball threat type of guy for them. Maybe he goes to Jacksonville and takes over the number 1 role. Maybe he goes to Detroit and takes over the number 1 role because Amon-Ra St. Brown is in the slot. And we'll talk about him in future episodes. Spoiler alert. Even though we don't know who's going to get that category, we're going to talk about him. But I just think there's so many places that he can go and benefit as a top like 1 or 2 receiver that I just think he's gonna outperform what you're going to have to give to buy him. You could probably get him for a back end 2nd round pick right now in a pretty weak quotations, because we don't really know. We say we know draft class. A 2nd round pick might be able to swing him to a team that's Christian Kirk is their 6th best receiver. He doesn't really need him. He might be able to swing it. But now let's go on to the sell category. Who do you have as a sell?
I'm actually going to sell DeAndre Hopkins.
Ooh.
Because he's starting to show wear and tear. We've seen how important he is to Murray. So teams are going to start keying on that and game planning for that more than what they would in the past. But yeah, I mean, he is an elite athlete, but he's starting to hit that plateau, I feel. So right now, we always talk about that window of value. I think right now is a good window of value to get a good return on him, especially in what us and a lot of other people perceived as a weak draft class. You could trade to get a younger receiver plus draft capital. I think right now is the time to strike while the iron's hot for Hopkins.
I mean, as hot as it can be. I mean, he did miss. It's the first time he's missed hitting it. The 3rd time in his career he's missed hitting 1,000 yards receiving. First time since 2016. But I mean, yeah, he missed 7 games this year. He's going to be turning 30 by the start of the new season. Here in just like 5 months, he turns 30. My argument for saying not to sell him is just because like he is still, I feel like, a wide receiver 1 when he plays. If Christian Kirk is gone, AJ Green's probably, we don't know what's going to happen. He's probably might be gone again. Who knows? Zach Ertz, we don't know situation wise. He might be a lone man on campus or, play a 2-man crew with Rondelle Moore, who we'll talk about here in a second. But I do see the appeal in getting rid of somebody like him at this stage. Suggesting if you could go out and get maybe one of the most consistent receivers in the NFL and go get DJ Moore. A guy that's going to get you, 70 catches, 1,200 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Go out and get the guy, like somebody like that, because you probably could swing a deal where you get DJ Moore in a second for DeAndre Hopkins. You might, you know what I mean? You might be able to get that deal. And I wouldn't feel bad about that deal at all. Or get like a 2024 first and DJ Moore for Hopkins. I get the sell. Age 30, we're hitting that big cliff. It makes sense. I still think he's an elite guy, and I think next year he'll be a wide receiver 1. But you got to know when to get out of these guys' contracts and everything, or at least separation. So let's talk about the next guy, the last guy. I kind of mentioned him. Another wide receiver. We're going 3 receivers deep here. a guy you got to keep, Rondelle Moore. He showed a lot of promise. He's a guy that coming out of college was injured a lot, and he had this high this early breakout rate. I think it was like 18.9, age 18.9 or something like that, just with how good he broke out. And he did miss a couple games towards the end of the stretch, but still, as a rookie, 54 catches, 435 yards, and a touchdown. There are times when he looked like the best receiver in Arizona, just electric.
Now, I'm not sold on him. I think he's still about a year away for me to throw him in that keep category. I think he's got flashes of greatness, but I don't feel the consistency is there to warrant a keep for me. Like I said, I mean, you got to factor in a lot of stuff. When he was successful was early on in the season. Arizona was rolling. They was throwing the ball a lot. Once Hopkins goes down, I think is right around the time he went, he started sputtering right around that time. Hopkins, right before or right around when Hopkins first got injured. So, I mean, I don't want to keep with him. I think that he's somebody that's expendable in my eyes.
Now, he did have a part of the season when he started hitting his slump was when Kyler Murray started getting hurt and leaving. And that is something to acknowledge, that there are times when, because Murray was out, weeks like 8, 9, and 10. And in those weeks, he had he had like 14 fantasy points in those weeks. And so he did have weeks with Murray where he didn't perform. But I think the point of keeping him, though, he's extremely young. And I think that's a very good asset to have, it being only 21 years old. But I mean, your argument is of selling Hopkins because game plans and predictability against him and everything. And I think Christian Kirk's going to leave. Rondelle Moore's going to be the next guy. But I understand if he's not a priority. We're a situation where if somebody else wanted to buy him from you, you're willing to let him go. And I totally understand that. And I get that aspect. You're not saying cut him. If we disagree with keep, that does not mean cut at all. But yeah, let's move on to the Los Angeles Rams, the division champions. You're going to lead us off here with your...
I'll take a Stafford. I mean, the reemergence of his career is something great. I mean, of course, the emergence of Kupp having a phenomenal season, MVP-worthy calibration. But also, they lost Robert Woods, who is going to be a valuable weapon coming back from injury. So that offense is going to get stronger, and he's going to put up better numbers. So I think he's a good quarterback to buy, because a lot of people are wanting to they want to look for the next shiniest toy, I guess you could say, in the quarterback position. And he's somebody that you can snag. All right, so yeah, I mean, he's somebody that has seen a resurgence of his career. He got out of Detroit, and he's got a team around him. He's got a great defense, so he's not having to go out and have these gunslinger moments and have to put up an atrocious number and get wear and tear on his arm, throwing, a million times a season, because his defense does do their job.
He did come out with 17 interceptions this year, but he did top 41 touchdowns, which was a career tie. He did that back in 2011, and he did throw the ball 600 times, which is something he's done several times in his career. I do think the running backs not consistently being healthy affected game plan. And it's something that LA is going to fix, but Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, OBJ, potentially, we don't really know in that situation, plus the running backs there in Michelle and Henderson and Akers. There's so much talent there for him to go out there, and I think he is a guy that is turning 34 here in a couple weeks that you might be able to buy way cheaper than his actual performance. Guys that are much younger not saying you should go, but if you have Herbert and you wanted to get somebody cheaper and add to your team, Stafford's the type of guy you can go for because you're going to get similar production fantasy wise. It'll hurt you dynasty long term to maybe do that move unless you could pull some awesome deal and get a nice little RB2 and maybe a first or some big package deal. But yeah, I agree. I think he's one of the cheaper quarterbacks to acquire among dynasty standards due to his age, but he's still performing.
Yeah, and you got to look at it this way. This is one of my biggest arguments by, having Stafford as my buy is you want a anchor. You're not in a dynasty. You want to buy cheap and get some longevity, some formidable years. Which Stafford's a great guy that you can buy and don't have to worry about a quarterback for a couple of years, and you can build other skill positions before having to address that quarterback position. And like you said, you could, if you have we'll use my instance in our league. I had 2 top tier quarterbacks that I was stuck judging who to start every week. Actually, I had 3. I had Stafford, Brady, and Murray. I was stuck in a dilemma. So if you could sell one of those and get a nice compensation back based on performance, do it. And you can build through other spots by trading off maybe a Herbert and getting a good package deal that involves Stafford to be a plug and play quarterback.
No, and I agree 100%. So let's go ahead and move on. We were talking about Stafford for a long time. Let's go ahead and talk about, I do want to mix this up so it's not so predictable and everything, but let's talk about your keep. I'm going to let you go again. This is a keep. The guy that you were going to keep. I got to reference keep a couple of times. I also put Akers down as well. So talk about why I'm going to keep him.
Because he's young. He's got amazing athletic ability. We've seen this offense work with a mixture of running backs that, some people might think that's not on the talent level of Akers. He's coming off injury, so, he's a good keep, a good stash. I bought him quite a few places fairly cheap because of the injury and the performance of Sony Michel, Henderson, and such. A lot of people think there's going to be a controversy there. And this is somebody that you want to hold on to because you can build a team around. It's a centerpiece. Running back is one of the hardest positions to acquire a home run hit. This is, I feel, is one of those players that you can plug and play, when healthy. He's going to come back. The injury is not going to be a lingering one, I don't see. So he is somebody that you can stash, plug and play, build a team around. He's got many years ahead of him, I feel. And you're a solid winner with Akers in your lineup as your RB1.
No, I do agree. My only concern is that Sony Michel, Jarrell Henderson are both there. And even though Akers is younger, I think that they might, then again, they almost just played him this past week. I don't understand how this guy is already healthy and apparently good to play. I don't understand anything I ever thought about athletes and injuries and science. It just doesn't exist anymore. It's not real. I just oh man, this guy had his head ripped off. Okay, well, he might be back in 3 weeks. He might be dead. I don't know. I'll never know anymore. It's amazing. And I want to say that they would take it slow with him, but it feels like they won't, in this situation. So with all that being said, I do think he's a guy you should try and keep. I don't think if you tried selling him, you're not going to get proper value for him. If you try buying him, you might be able to buy him cheap, but somebody might ask for too much. But don't drop it. Ride the wave, see what happens. Maybe Henderson's gone. You never know.
And worst case scenario, do your favorite thing. Wait for him to have a big game, back to back big games. Sell him off. Get the max draft capital, but get the max capital return with him.
Yeah,
if you don't
absolutely.
really believe in him.
Now, talking about getting the max capital off somebody and talking about getting somebody after a big game, my sell is very obvious. My sell is Cooper Kupp. And how could you do it? This guy just won a triple crown in the NFL, most receptions, yards, and touchdowns in a single season by receiver. Led everybody. That's never happened, that hasn't happened for 16 years since Steve Smith did it in 2005, and didn't have that. It's only happened 3 other times in NFL history: Sterling Sharp and Jerry Rice. It's hard to think that a guy can do this well. Let's look at his stats real quick: 191 targets, 145 receptions, 1947 yards, and 16 touchdowns. All those are career highs, obviously, but they're not just like kind of career highs. They are all like extremes highs, like 6 more touchdowns than his ever career best. Only second time he's ever went over 1,000 yards, and that is career best in yards by over 800 yards. His career best in receptions by over 50 receptions. There is no way in my mind that I am going to keep a guy who just had his best season and assume that it will continue, because there's a reason why every athlete in the world that has ever done a sport has their best season ever. And it's in comparison to the rest of their seasons that are not as good. This is going to be his best season ever. No matter what happens, he will never top this. Overall, you got to get rid of a guy when he finishes way higher than he was supposed to, and he outperforms his own self way higher. Get rid of him. Now, I'm not saying you have to sell him for a king's ransom. That's ideal world, but he's going to be 29 next year. He's about to hit a cliff. Now, for quick reference, before you jump on in, after Calvin Johnson with Matt Stafford broke the record in 2012, he kind of hit a little bit of a dip. His targets went down by 50, his receptions went down by 40, and his yards went down by 500. All the next year. Now, still fantastic, because he still went for 84, 14, and 12. But it dropped for a reason, because you can never replicate your best ever.
And you also got to look, we touched on it a little bit earlier, the running back situation was in flux, trying to find somebody with the acre injury. So that means, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more. And Robert Woods went out, which is going to cut into those targets, that yardage, those touchdowns. So you got to look at that. So, yeah, I mean, he was my sell as well, because he put up career numbers, and you got to strike while the iron's hot. Some team will overpay for him. It's guaranteed, and you're going to reap the benefits.
Let me just tell you what I got for him in a league that I just traded him. I traded him away, and I actually traded him away back in week 9 with a team that I was rebuilding. I picked it up. It's an orphan. I was rebuilding, and I am okay with what I got. Most people probably tell me I lost this deal. I got a 2023 first round pick. I got Dallas Goedert at tight end, and I got Amari Cooper at receiver. Doesn't look like a home run deal, but that's going to benefit me more over the next 2-3 years than I think Cooper Kupp is going to, personally. I bet you can go out and get somebody like CeeDee Lamb in a first, potentially, which is even better than what I got. Yeah, you could easily, I keep going back to the same names. You probably go out and get DJ Moore and 2 first, potentially, for Cooper Kupp. You might be able to swing that. Maybe. You never know. You might be able to swing some of these things. But I think Cooper Kupp is a great time, especially at a position receiver where that is so deep. And there's so many guys that can outperform their ADP. Like we saw this past year, that you might as well trade them away when they hit this area and just get what you can to build. And we got to remember, Woods is coming back next year and he'll play a full season. That's going to impact Kupp's touches. It is. Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, you got to look at this from a dynasty perspective, that you got to be playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. You got to look at what's going to be the best 3-year plan versus next year.
Yes. All righty, let's go ahead and move on. Alphabetical. We'll go to San Francisco, and we're going to talk about a player that you want to sell. Let's keep on sell. Who are you selling from the 49ers?
This one hits close to home because it's somebody I'm trying to actually get off you. That's George Kittle.
All right,
I think that he's one of those peaks and valleys players. He led to your demise in our matchup because I'm pretty sure he had a very subpar game or he was even out for injury. And he's not, and you have a mobile quarterback with Lance getting ready to take over. It's predetermined. Even though Garoppolo is doing well, a mobile quarterback doesn't particularly like throwing to the tight end. And because tight ends are typically those chain moving things, that have the athletic ability to break big plays. I'm souring on Kittle. I don't know. There's just something I feel it deep down in my gut that this is the best time to sell Kittle and get at least something back, because I don't think he's gonna be in the big three anymore.
Well, we're going to blend this and transition this as well, because George Kittle is actually my keep and my hold. Here's the thing. Why I disagree. You're going to have people out there that are going to say, like what you're saying, that he's going to fall out and everything. He did have 2 games with Trey Lance. One game he had 10 targets. The other game he only had 2. So we really can't judge exactly what would happen in this situation. We do know that there was a big emergence on Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk kind of as well, playing a little bit better. And Trey Lance is going to take over. Yes, this is correct. But I do believe that he is too good of a receiving option to just let go. I think that what's going to happen this offseason is a lot of people are going to kind of have the approach that you are towards Kittle owners, and they are going to try and undersell him because of Trey Lance. And I feel like a lot of people are going to get rid of George Kittle way cheaper than they should because they're going to agree. Now, this isn't going to impact our trade that we're potentially going to do for George Kittle at all. Just because I have Travis Kelce, so it's a luxury. But I just think that he's a guy that you should be keeping right now. I do like that we both have him on different spectrums, because that means that you're getting out of the risk and I'm willing to take the risk right now. And I like that back in the thing that we have that we can look back on. But yeah, I think if you have Kittle, do not fall for selling him too cheap. He just had like a meh year, and he finishes the tight end 4 in a meh year. So that's how I look at it. Let's go to move on to buy. And we already talked about him. We keep doing this, kind of keep referencing everybody else. Go out and buy Trey Lance right now. Buy him right now. As soon as your league opens trades, buy him. Because as soon as he is the official starter for the 49ers, as soon as he takes over the reins and starts dominating, you're going to get a 20. He's 21. I want to pull this up exactly, because I believe when he was drafted, he was only 20. Let's see. Yes, he's 21 in this season. He turned 21. He won't be 22 until after the NFL draft this year. 22, dynasty leagues. Like, there are times when you can go out and get a really young quarterback, and you're going to have him for the next 10 years. That's this guy right here. I was saying it during the draft last year. I was saying go out and buy him and stash him. And I'm still on the buy train, because I think that right now is the cheapest he's going to be, especially if the 49ers beat the Cowboys this weekend and Jimmy G looks pretty good. 49ers might keep him for another year. They might try, you know what I mean? They might try and push it a little more. Buy him, because as soon as Jimmy G is let go or moved on and Trey Lance is in line to start, his price is going to skyrocket. So you got to buy him now before it gets too pricey.
And that's actually my keep. So we see we like having the same players just in different tiers, and I like that.
Well, my sell was different, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, talk about Trey Lance though. Why do you really want to keep him?
I think, just like you said, I mean, he's somebody that you can build around. He's going to have a long career in the NFL. He's going to be the centerpiece of that offense. He's going to develop with a young receiving core in Ayuk and Deebo. He does have Kittle there. I mean, that's a great safety valve to have. Now the running back game is iffy, is murky. but he's a mobile quarterback. So he's going to be making those plays that you're going to see Kyler Murray that's currently making. Once he gets into his own, you're going to see him be that dual threat. And what's great about him is he has the arm strength, the sling the ball, the footwork to keep defenses honest on the edge, and he plays smart. That is, he doesn't make unnecessary risk when running the ball. He looks to get out of bounds. He looks to take the slide early, and he doesn't put himself in danger, which with a mobile quarterback is very key.
One of the things that he got praised on coming out of North Dakota State, was just how smart he was and how intelligent he was, especially for his age. Being 20 through the whole draft process, that's it right there. I mean, he's a guy he's gonna think about his career long term. He's gonna think about how to be smart and put things in the right position. And I just think he's gonna be one of those guys that we're gonna look at him the way that we look at Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying they're the exact same quarterback, but I'm saying dynasty wise, we're gonna look at him the same. He's gonna be a guy that in 2 years, maybe 3, will be a top 5 quarterback startup pick in all startup picks. He just will. And I like him. I like him more than any other quarterback that was in this past draft class, and I'll stand by that. But let's go ahead and move on to Seattle. Let's go ahead and talk about a player that you would really love to buy this offseason.
This is my heart is on this one because he's somebody that I love talking about. He's my wide receiver in Seattle that my hitch, my train to and ride, Tyler Lockett. He is a boom bust receiver. He's one of Russ Wilson's favorite targets. He is very undersold by a lot of owners and leagues because of his boom bust tendencies. But I've got a soft spot for him. I think here is a good time to buy him, and you can get him at a very under market value.
Probably like a late first or like 112 is probably somebody might be willing to go with that if depending on their team makeup. We could see that if it's not their original pick,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you might even be able to get him for like maybe a 2-3, depending on needs. You could get him for a 2-3. We talk about rookie fever all the time. A lot of people I like to trade in draft. When I see how people are falling, I see team needs, and then I start making some discussions, which is some of the best time to capitalize on rookie fever because there's always somebody looking to move up. There's somebody that they think is a diamond in the rough that they're going to find who's going to be the next greatest thing, and you can exploit that. And I think I wouldn't say you would get him anything lower than a 2-3, but that 2-3 to 111 range I think is a really good spot to place him in.
Yeah, I think that might be a push to kind of get him for a second round pick. But it depends on when you traded for him. Like if you tried buying him during your rookie draft, might be the best optimal time to buy him. It also, I think he is tied to Russell Wilson as well, depending on this news that happens with him. Oh boy, depending on where we see him go and everything. But yeah, Tyler Lockett, I like him a lot. I really do. ESPN has him that he boomed 6 weeks and busted 6 weeks, which is hilarious, which means he was average the other weeks he was there. Let's go ahead and let's just assume that Russell Wilson's back. Tyler Lockett just finished as the wide receiver 14 on a year that we all kind of were saying he busted 6 times. The inconsistency sucks, but I feel like you can kind of play around that. Like there are times when like he booms and you're like, oh yeah, that makes obvious sense why he boomed right there. You know what I mean? And you can kind of predict these things. But yeah, I like it. I really like it. Let's go ahead and talk about my sell. This is super simple. Sell Rashad Penny. If like everybody's beliefs of Chris Carson being injury prone now, I just saw like 3 TikToks today where it was like, Chris Carson was a bust and he's actually injury prone now. Yeah, we've been saying that forever. Like, I don't understand why you guys all fall for this Chris Carson's elite type thing. I don't get it. Never have. Never had that flavor of the month feeling for him at all. Rashad Penny is going to come on in of, he was a high draft pick, first round guy. Dynasty rookie drafts. He was drafted probably 1-3, 1-4 most years that he came out. And everybody's going to be like, he gets it now. Now he gets it. This is Devontae Parker, but at the running back position, he gets it. Let's stick with him. He just won me a fantasy championship because of weeks 16 and 17. Get rid of him, sell him. If anybody's willing to buy anything of good value for him, get rid of him right now. Don't fuck around. I don't see anybody else on the team that is really of value to actually trade at this moment that you wouldn't want to keep or try and buy yourself outside of him.
Yeah, I mean, we differ there. But yeah, I mean, I could see it. Penny's coming off of some huge games that is going to get that conversation going into the offseason with the Chris Carson injuries. And they're going to be, you're going to see people talking about what ifs is Penny finally reaching his potential. And if you want to take another good look at Sonny Michel. Sonny Michel wasn't anything in New England. He went to the Rams, got second life. He's generated. I think Rashad Penny's the same way, and I'm right there with you. I could definitely see the sell.
Yeah, and I just, for me, it's just I don't see anybody else really. Where, like, I don't want to sell Lockett. I don't want to sell Metcalf. I don't want to sell Wilson. I don't want to sell any, and I don't think that Gerald Everett or Chris Carson can actually get you anything of worth. Prior to this season, I literally traded Chris Carson away for an early second round pick in the 2021 rookie draft and a second round pick in the 2022 rookie draft, like 2 seconds. And somebody's like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't want him on my team. He's no value. He's no value to me at all. I guarantee he plays 5 games." And I'm not saying I was right, but I was pretty right. And I'm going to continue to do that. If I end up picking an orphan that has him, come buy him, I'll give him to you. But right now, Rashad Penny, if your league is a super, active league and they've already opened up trades for the new season, trade him right now for whatever even if you compare like your second and Penny, like your 2-8 and second, your 2-8 and Penny for like the 112, do it. Even if you're just using him to help you move up draft slots, do it. That's where I'm at. Now, final spot. Let's talk about your keep.
My keep is Metcalf. I think he's an anchor.
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, I think he's an anchor. He's a very big physical receiver in all of the build and prototype of Mike Evans, who is one of the strong arm people and defensive backs on a lot of jump balls. He's got uncanny speed. You always see that run down interception that he would display his speed on. So he's lightning fast. I think it's a good wide receiver 1 for any team to have. And it's a plug and play, set your lineup for getting within there. And you don't have to worry about the matchups. I guess you could say he's going to perform. Yeah, he's going to have some duds, but you're going to see more success than more duds out of him. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to hold on to him. He's a player that I want to build around.
I totally see that. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think it's a pretty obvious pick for somebody that's, makes the spicy hot takes. That is a very vanilla way to end our episode. But yeah, no, it's fair. It makes sense. I don't disagree with it at all. And I think he's a pretty obvious keep in my camp as well. He is not a guy that I own anywhere and then never have. And yeah, I wouldn't mind having him. I really wouldn't. I think he's a fantastic receiver. And that's going to do it for our show. Thank you guys for tuning on in to our podcast. We are back, and this is episode, 1 of season 3 for Second and Short. And we are going to kind of dive in more and more throughout every division going back and forth to an NFC and AFC. Now, before we do get out of here, I do want to get your playoff predictions. Let's leave fantasy football behind for a little bit, and I want you to give me your picks for every game. I'll tell you mine as well and everything. So let's go ahead and start. We'll go back and forth. We'll say them. Drop TikTok today. Bengals, Raiders. Who do you have winning that game?
Bengals.
Same here. What about Chiefs and Steelers?
Kansas City in Ben's career.
Chiefs as well. What about Bills and Patriots?
Bills.
Same here. Let's talk about the NFC. What about Buccaneers and Eagles?
Bucks.
Same here. What about Rams and Cardinals?
I've actually got the Rams.
I have the Rams as well. And now let's talk about the Cowboys and 49ers.
You're really going to make me say it, aren't you? You're really going to make me say it. Yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys.
I'm taking the Cowboys too. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel weird and disgusting that I took every home team this weekend. I don't know what it is. And part of me is going, well, that never happened. So like, why are you doing it? But like, I can't find the one road team that it's probably New England. It's probably New England. But then again, the Buffalo Bills figured him out. And I don't trust Mac Jones to be clutch. And I don't think the Bills are going to get fooled by, like, it's going to be cold. It's not going to be windy as shit in Buffalo. And so, yeah. That's where I'm at.
I feel really dirty. One, that I took the Cowboys. Two, that me and you agreed on every game. That makes me feel real. That makes me feel real dirty.
Watch us go 0-6 this weekend.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. I mean, the Bills Patriots game is the only one that I see that could be the upset. I wanted to go for the 49ers over the Cowboys as a spicy upset. I just don't. I think Dallas is coming into its own at the right time.
I think it's possible, but yeah, Dallas has scored like 130 points the last 3 weeks, which is fucking stupid. Like, so it's hard for me to pick against that. I think the Eagles have a good chance beating the Bucks. Like, I really do think the NFC teams have a really good chance to all upset. And I think the Pats do too. But I think like Steelers, I think that game won't. I don't think that's going to be a game. I have it 27-13, and I think I'm being very modest on that score line. But every other game I have pretty close. Go ahead and check us out on TikTok. But yeah, that's going to be it for our show. So as I was saying, follow us on TikTok. We're going to be going over every playoff matchup. We're going to give you guys some dynasty and fantasy insight along the way, as well as talking about more NFL content just itself. NFL drafts coming up along. We're going to talk about all that, free agency. Check us out on YouTube. If you're listening now on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We just broke 100 subscribers. Thank you guys. It's a minor accomplishment, but still an accomplishment. And leave a like button down below. You can comment also as well. Tell us who you guys want to buy, keep, or trade away from any team in the NFC West at all. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. We are also now partners with the We are now partners with the W2M network as well. You can check us out there. You can check us out on their YouTube page as well, on their website. We're partnered with them. And if you want to hear more from Jason or myself, you can also hear Jason's voice and takes on other podcasts, such as...
you can find me on Damn You Hollywood on the Radledge Broadcast Network. And it's fun. It's something that we do some reviews over there. And I'm not only a fantasy guru. I actually do stuff outside of fantasy. Believe it, Ty? It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it?
It's amazing. And if you want to hear more from me, like I said, we have I'll be having YouTube videos going up on NFL team specific, not fantasy related, that are just one-off videos. But you also can check me out on Love War Challenges, where I talk about MTV's The Challenge, everything about that show, with some pretty cool people, Malik and Becky. And yeah, check us out on all social media platforms on those as well. With all that being said, thank you guys for coming on back for season 3 for Second and Short. And we'll see you guys next week as we talk about another random division. See you.